This is a review of animal classification for Miss Carvalho's 4th grade All-Stars. As we already know, animals can be classified into 2 different large categories. Those categories include vertebrae and invertebrate. Now remember, vertebrae are animals with backbones. That includes ourselves because we have a spine, which is another word for backbone. Invertebrate are animals without backbones. We remember that the prefix in means without. So invertebrate are without backbones. Again, we have vertebrae and invertebrate as animals. Our first group, now remember, vertebrates are also divided into groups. We have 5 vertebrate groups. Our first group is reptiles. Reptiles include animals such as snakes that have backbones. Our second group is mammals. Mammals are vertebrae that give live birth. That means they do not lay eggs. They give birth to a live baby. Amphibians are a third group of vertebrae. Amphibians are animals such as frogs that may start life in the water and end life on land. Remember, they have backbones because they are vertebrae. Our fourth category of vertebrae is fish. Fish are vertebrae that live underwater. An example of this would be a shark. Fish also have scales and fins that enable them to swim. Now remember, a whale is not a fish because it gives birth to a live baby. It would be considered a mammal. Fish also breathe from gills, and whales breathe from their blowholes, making them a mammal. Our final or 5th category of vertebrae are birds. Birds are vertebrae with wings and beaks. Their wings usually enable them to fly, and their beaks enable them to eat seeds and other tough vegetation. Now, we also have groups of invertebrate. There are many groups of invertebrate. The first of which that we will discuss today is mollusks. As we know, it is often hard to define mollusks because they share some characteristics, however, they do not share all characteristics. An example of a mollusk is an octopus. Another example of a mollusk is a snail. That tells you right there that some mollusks live in the water and others live on land. One characteristic that we found for mollusks is that many of them are slimy. Also, many of them live within shells. However, we know that they do not all live within shells, as octopus do not. Our next category of invertebrate are arthropods. Arthropods are animals with jointed legs and hard exoskeletons. Our example for arthropods were ants and cockroaches, both of which have jointed legs and both of which have a tough outer exoskeleton, almost like a shell encasing their body. Now remember, these are not the only categories of invertebrate. There are many other invertebrate categories. And remember, invertebrate and vertebrate are the only 2 groups of animals. All animals are either vertebrate or invertebrate.